Hey friends, Lissa here. Today I would like to talk about how I broke free from the perfectionist mindset of labels and extremism in a healthy lifestyle. So this video is actually quite difficult for me to film, and it's not emotional or anything like that. It's just finding the words to describe how I want to convey my message in this video. So I hope you guys can understand and follow along with what I'm going to talk about. But I want to talk about perfectionism and labels. Now, we label ourselves lots of different things, religions, political beliefs, diet, all of this kind of stuff. And we like to use these labels. And labels are fine. The problem comes when we identify so much with these labels that we try to become perfect in the label. Now, in the last 4 years that I've been a raw vegan, I've obviously been calling myself a raw vegan, but I've still always, for the last 4 years, I have kept 5 things in my diet. And like I said, I've done a video on that topic, but if you haven't seen that, the 5 things that I still consume as a raw vegan that are controversial raw vegan ingredients are coconut aminos, nutritional yeast, maple syrup, cashews, and the last group is like herbs, spices, garlic, onions, the stuff that the natural hygienists don't consume. I clump that into the 5th category. But that said, I have found that over the last 4 years, I've always continued to eat these specific foods, but I've always had occasionally a desire to be perfect, like a perfect 100% fully raw vegan. And I found that when I would go through those feelings of needing to be perfect or comparing myself to other people I've seen on social media or finding information that may say like, well, dried spices are bad, or apple cider vinegar is bad, or you know, nutritional yeast isn't good for you, coconut aminos aren't raw, cashews aren't raw, or whatever. Any of these information things that I've read, you know, they make me feel like I'm not good enough. So that's something that I've dealt with my whole life, is feeling not good enough. And I am enough. You're enough. We're all enough. And we should be okay with that knowledge. And just because I choose to have a couple things in my diet that are controversial raw ingredients, I can still call myself a raw vegan. And I know some people might not agree with that, but this is how I maintain a healthy mindset with my diet. I could easily become an extremist, a perfectionist, but I know that this is a toxic mindset for myself, as for many people. I also know that it's very stressful on my body, and I don't want to go there. I feel that by keeping these 5 controversial things in my diet, I can maintain a raw vegan diet so much easier. I would rather be a 99% raw vegan with these 5 ingredients than to be a 95% raw vegan and still including junk food or cheat days, you know, where I'm eating cooked food that I know triggers me, and I know this triggers me. And so I have to keep it completely out of my diet. But these 5 things don't trigger me. They don't make me want to eat all kinds of crazy things. So they are good for me to keep in my diet. So when it comes to labels, I use the label raw vegan, but I don't live in the box. I sit outside the box and say, I'm a raw vegan. But I don't live in the box with all that pressure and confinement and restrictive feelings of being a raw vegan. So I'm going to try and expand on that just a little bit here. I hope you guys can understand my thought process. Again, like I said, I'm just winging this one. But to get out of that box, I tell myself that I can eat anything I want. I can have potatoes, I can have grains, I can have whatever. I could eat a bag of Doritos if I wanted to. I could go grab some vegan junk food. I could have a vegan burger. I could eat anything that I want. That takes me out of the restrictive mindset. Then I choose to eat raw food. So just because I can eat whatever I want doesn't mean that I choose to eat whatever I want. I choose to eat raw food because that's how I feel my best. So I'm not choosing raw food because I live in the box. I'm choosing raw food because it's my choice. It's my life, it's my body. I know how I feel when I eat cooked food, when I eat junk food, and I don't like it. So I choose raw food all the time, and that is what brings me the freedom. It's not living in that box, under that label, and feeling restricted, because I took the restrictions off. I said I can eat whatever I want, but I don't. I choose to eat raw foods because I'm in charge. I have taken control back in my life, and I choose how I want to feel. I choose what I want to eat, and that is so empowering. When you're stuck under a label and you're under all of that pressure, you feel like it's not really your choice, that you're forced to only eat fruit, or that you're forced to do these things. Now, granted, if you're dealing with an extreme illness, sometimes you do have to take extreme measures to get the healing that you need. But for the most part, we can incorporate certain things into our diets. I mean, some people still do one sweet potato with a gigantic raw salad. And if that keeps them eating a massive amount of greens, then that's great. Because I know that if I put a sweet potato in my salad, the next day it would be just sweet potatoes. Because I know I have an issue with potatoes, so I choose not to keep them in my lifestyle. But that doesn't mean that somebody else who may want to have a sweet potato in their salad is bad or is eating toxins or whatever. They're just eating something that I personally believe is not an ideal food source. That said, it's not that there isn't nutrition in it, or that, you know, it's vegan, it's fine. I consider it a survival food. So potatoes and grains, I consider survival foods that I would eat if we were in a time of famine or in survival mode, and you know, there was absolutely no fresh fruits or vegetables around ever. I would default to grains and potatoes because they are survival foods. But we live in a thrival time, so I choose thrival foods, and that's my choice. And that is what brought me to the freedom mindset, the freedom to choose, and the freedom from the perfectionism that can be so toxic on our minds. Putting myself in a box or covering myself with a label brings on too much of that stress that makes me want to binge, because I have had days where I just eat all fruit, maybe a very, very clean, natural hygiene, but I feel drawn towards greens, and I don't want to limit myself from eating greens if I'm in this, I have to be a fruitarian, or I have to be this way, or I have to get rid of spices, otherwise I'm not perfect, or other people aren't going to see me as perfect. And this causes so much stress, and it's almost more stressful to be under that stress than it is to have a little smoked paprika in your salad dressing. When you're having a gigantic, massive salad that's making you feel hydrated and full and fresh and beautiful and young, why not throw in a little bit of that if you feel you want to? Now, that said, you can take the information, you can do whatever you want with it, but it's ultimately your choice. And taking yourself out of the box, taking away the labels, and just using the labels as a description of what you eat. So when I'm out in the public and I say I'm a raw vegan, people still don't know how I eat. Even when I say I'm just a vegan, people still like, well, so you still eat cheese, or do you still eat eggs or fish or whatever? They're not sure what a vegan is. So using labels almost isn't even as descriptive. And I have started to coin a hashtag that I'd like you guys to share if you want. It's called compassionate eating. And that is the, I don't want to say box because it's not a box, but that is the label that I want to tag myself as. I am a compassionate eater. So I don't eat animals, and I don't eat their products. I also choose not to eat foods that hurt me, or that make me feel blah, or whatever, or that cause me to go into a binge eating mindset, or cause cravings, or whatever. So I'm being compassionate towards myself. I'm being compassionate towards the planet, and I'm being compassionate towards animals. So I compassionately eat. And that makes me feel so happy to call myself a compassionate eater, because I do all of these things that are full of love for myself, for the planet, for the animals, and even for you guys. I love being an inspiration to you, and I love following this lifestyle and sharing my recipes and showing you how I eat and showing you that you can love raw food as well, whether or not you're a full raw vegan or whatever that means, 100%, 99%. I mean, really, who cares? We are all vegans, and we shouldn't cause other vegans to feel guilty. We shouldn't make other people feel like they're not good enough. Because when all is said and done, it's ultimately your choice as to how good you want to feel. And if cooked foods are making you feel crappy, then just don't eat them. And if you feel great on a really, really high raw diet, maybe with a sweet potato with your dinner, and it's not causing you triggers and it's not causing you pain for now or whatever, I mean, who are we to say if these people want to eat those things, then we should not be judging them. And judgment and all of that negativity is not good for the vegan movement. We want to be compassionate. Again, we want to be compassionate eaters, compassionate to those around us, and we want to show them and be great examples of healthy, loving, caring vegans and raw vegans, and accept people in without that judgment. And it can be really difficult sometimes because we believe so hard a certain way, and we think, if everybody could feel what it feels like to eat the way I'm eating, I want everyone to know. And that causes some stress sometimes, because we care so much about other people that we want them to understand what we know, or we want them to eat the way we eat. But we have to be more open and accepting and just be examples, because people will connect with that a lot more than when you're waving a finger or you're throwing information at them saying, hey, you should check out this doctor who says this about this product or whatever. I mean, I've researched a lot of stuff, and I choose to keep ginger in my diet, for example, because I love ginger and it's the most researched food on the planet, and there's lots of good things that ginger has to offer. So I choose to keep ginger in my diet. I'm just using ginger as an example, but we have to all choose ourselves, and we have to let other people choose themselves as well. And so all in all, that's how I broke free from the label mindset. I still use a label to describe how I eat. I'm a raw vegan. I eat raw foods. It's a lot harder to explain that I eat fruits and vegetables with a small amount of nuts and seeds, some herbs and spices, and I still keep coconut aminos, nutritional yeast, and all this in my diet, but I don't cook anything, and I only heat everything to blah blah, and you go on and on and on and on about all of that, and people are like, what? So sometimes it's easier just to say I'm a raw vegan, and whether or not there's certain things in your diet that you keep or not, that's totally cool. There are some raw vegans who are more raw vegan than me, and that's awesome. They feel great doing what they're doing, and I love that, and I love to be inspired by them, but I don't want to be made to feel like I'm not perfect. And I don't want any of you guys to feel that you're not perfect either. I want you to be inspired and excited about raw foods and include more in your diet and crowd out the bad stuff and fill up on the good stuff. And I hope this video helped somebody out there. I love you all, and I want you to fall in love with real food. That's why I called my channel Raw Food Romance, because it's about falling in love and reconnecting with real, hydrating, colorful, fresh, raw food, the way nature intended us to eat. So again, I hope somebody loved this video, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to my channel. To get notifications for more, you can click the little bell. It'll send notifications as soon as I post a new video. You can find me on Instagram. I'm most active over there at Raw Food Romance. On Facebook, Lissa's Raw Food Romance, and on Snapchat, Lissa Raw Vegan. You can get any of my recipe books. Again, I still use those 5 ingredients in my recipe books, but I do offer alternatives for those who might not want to include those in their diet. So I try to cover the whole range of everybody to the best of my ability. But if you want to grab one of those, the link is right here. You can head to my e-store and grab ebook version, or you can go over to Amazon and grab print versions of all my recipe books, and they're available there. So until the next video, guys, I love you all, and fruit on.